Donald Trump has always said that he will put America first, and he's been proven true to his word. The US president says he will not punish Saudi Arabia for the killing of the Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi because the kingdom is too important to the US. Mr. Trump has now received a CIA briefing about the killing that suggests the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman could have known about it in advance. Let's talk to Oliver McGee now. He's a former White House senior policy advisor, joins us from Texas. Oliver, thanks a lot for talking to us this morning. An interesting statement from the White House. What do you make of it?
Well, I think as you opened, it's about American interest, and that oftentimes has trade-offs between the guns and the money and the diplomacy. And I think that's what we're seeing happening here now. This is a horrific murder case, and it will be taken care of in the law and order that takes place, not only in Saudi Arabia, but also on the world stage, perhaps even in the UN. But more importantly, the President of the United States has to be about American interest. And he is saying today, through his Secretary of State, Pompeo, that this is about a relationship between Saudi Arabia and the monarchy, the kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and not just particularly individual actors. And that's an important statement, and that's a sound statement. He is a little bit cautious about what he's seen in all the data that is coming in and the evidence that's coming in, and that's going to be changing. We know that. You and I know that, Kimberly. It's going to be changing over the months. But more importantly, he has to make sure that he does not give up the military interests, the contracts, the military contracts, which are $110 billion, and even $450 billion additional dollars of interest down the line. And this is about making sure that he preserves that interest for jobs in the economy, and also take a look at what Saudi is trying to do to be a partner in the overall war on terrorism that's taking place and the stability in the Middle East and for Israel.
Jamal Khashoggi's editor at the Washington Post, Karen Attiah, she's been very vocal about this. What do you say to this statement? Trump, this is from Karen, Trump is doing his best to help the Saudi regime get away with the murder of a U.S. resident. Jamal Khashoggi was a U.S. resident, and one of the Arab world's most prominent writers.
Well, I think what he is saying is a statement that is being really the evidence that he sees in front of him now. But the point I want to make with you tonight, Kimberly, is that everything's going to change in this whole story. And I think what the president has to do right now is to make
Oliver,
decisions that are best.
let me just jump in there. Sorry to interrupt you. What do you mean everything's going to change in this whole story?
I think what we're going to see is a tribunal that will take place. And once we get that complete, then everyone will know in an equal time what went on completely, because that's what happens when you do law and order. But more importantly,
are you talking about in Saudi Arabia?
Yes. But when you're looking at the American interest right now, what the president has to make decisions on is he has to look for long-term, long-range beyond that, and then be flexible enough to have things change down the line when that law and order takes place. Right now, the president is talking about diplomacy, but he's also talking about the guns and the money, and he has to ensure that he does not make America less competitive, because if we leave Saudi Arabia, who will step in? Russia and China. And so he has to make sure he plays that game very carefully. I don't envy the president his decision in trying to balance the guns and the money and diplomacy. That's a tough job, but that comes with the job of the presidency.
Those three words, guns, money, and diplomacy. I mean, can you understand that some people are looking at this and saying, at what point do you say human rights trump money and guns?
I do see the world discussion taking place on that today, and that will take some time as we see more of this story to unfold. Many times when we see these grand stories take place on stage, there's always changes around the
Oliver, I'm just going to jump in there. I mean, from what we've seen, do you think there is any likelihood that, given the investigation in Saudi Arabia, that investigation is going to end with them saying, yeah, the Crown Prince knew about this in advance?
Kimberly, I agree. It looks bad. I think the president sees that as well. But what I'm trying to convey delicately tonight is the president has to make decisions based on the moment. But he has flexibility to change when things come more clear in the world stage and of court of public opinion, but also the court of public law. And I think that's taking place right now. So it's hard to speculate on that right now.
What sort of a message do you think that this gives the Saudis or anyone else who down the line simply wants to get rid of journalists they don't agree with, dissidents they don't agree with, regardless of where they are in the world?
It sends a very bad message. I think that no leader should be basically going in that direction. That's not leading. That's basically destroying. But we have to make sure that we stand in the court of public opinion carefully as we allow the court of public law to take place completely. And then we can make, history will be able to define what's happening with the actors on this point right now.
Let's look at this statement that came from the White House, the statement from President Donald Trump on standing with Saudi Arabia. A lot of people looking at this and saying the tone is extraordinary. It opens with America first, exclamation mark. The world is a very dangerous place, exclamation mark. What do you make of the tone of what some people are saying is an extraordinary statement to come out of the White House?
Well, I think it's extraordinary to see a president so tough because one, he's saying America first, but second, what he's saying is the world is a dangerous place. And more importantly, to try to attain America's interest in that danger, he has to make sure that he watches national security on that. That's part of his national security strategy, and that is defined as America first. But at the same time, we have an empathetic president that understands that he did not want to hear the tapes. He did not want to see all of that. He wanted to make sure and let the court of public law take place completely. And that's really the point I want to share with your audience today. Let that close, because that court of public law is going to take place, whether we like it or not. And then we can begin to shape the court of public opinion.
Okay, Oliver McGee, thanks a lot for talking to us.
Thank you for having me.